He would always pour hot sauce on his butt and stuff like that. And then make him scream and stuff like that. And then we got this metal spatula down over that he used to beat him up with.
I grab it out. Blood squirt.
What's the location of your emergency?
My son is unresponsive right now.
Is he breathing?
Yeah, but barely. And it smells real rotten. No, something's not old.
He's like, Dad, help.
The judge's voice filled the courtroom with heavy silence. His words marked the end of a case that broke Ohio's heart. A story of a 10-year-old boy whose screams were buried behind a locked attic door.
What you did was pure evil. You provided no mercy to your son and deserve no mercy from this court.
Behind that judgment was a haunting truth of a 10-year-old boy who suffered in silence for years. His name was Dakota Collins, a small, quiet child whose pain was hidden behind the locked attic door of his own home. What happened to him was not an accident. It was a tragedy built piece by piece through neglect, control, and cruelty that no child should ever face.
Morris joins us live after speaking with the prosecution. Caroline.
Dakota's story began when he was placed in his father's custody. At first, it might have seemed like a normal arrangement. His father, Al Mutahan McLean, appeared to have everything under control: a home, a family, a sense of order. But behind that closed front door, the picture was far darker. The system that was supposed to protect Dakota handed him to the very person who would destroy him.
The house was actually owned by Al's girlfriend, 30-year-old Amanda Hinsey, who lived there along with her sister, 27-year-old Jennifer Jenny Ebert, and Al's 3-year-old brother. Al and Amanda began raising Al's younger brother when his mother was no longer able to care for him. Neither Amanda.
In the beginning, McLean lived with his fiancée, Amanda Hins, and her sister, Jennifer Ert. To anyone on the outside, it might have looked like a normal family trying to make life work. But neighbors later said they rarely saw Dakota. The windows were always closed, and the boy's voice was almost never heard. Inside those walls, strict rules replaced love. The three adults built a house that ran on silence, fear, and punishment.
Lived with his mother, Robin Collins, spending time between her home and nearby family. Loved ones recall a shy boy who watched the world carefully and clung to routine. In 2012, when Dakota was 3, a county court transferred custody to his father, Al Mutahan McLean. The decision followed concerns about stability in Robin's household. Court records at the time show McLean already carried prior convictions, including assault and strangulation.
Dakota once went to school like any other kid. Teachers noticed small things at first. He came in tired, unwashed, wearing the same clothes for days. His drawings grew darker, his words quieter. The school reported what they saw again and again, but nothing really changed. 17 separate reports were filed about him, but somehow every single one ended the same way. Case closed, no evidence found. Each report was a cry for help that never reached him. Each closure brought him closer to the day he would not survive.
School responded with practical support, fresh clothing when needed, quiet check-ins, and invitations to small group activities, while documenting each intervention in routine reports. Faculty tried to coordinate care through the nurse and counselors, but contact with home proved difficult. When staff requested routine wellness checks at school, Al Mutahan McLean often reacted sharply. He questioned the need for examinations, pushed back on counseling offers.
When people tried to check on Dakota, McLean always stood in the way. He refused home visits, stopped teachers from speaking to him, and told officials that Dakota was being homeschooled. He became the only voice anyone ever heard about that child's life. It was not long before everyone stopped asking questions. This control was not just about keeping others away. It was about cutting Dakota off from every piece of the outside world that could have saved him.
The outcome returned the same, not enough to remove the child. By 2018, tension between home and school was constant. When staff scheduled support meetings, McLean challenged their necessity. He objected to nurse visits, canceled conferences, and argued against outside counseling. In May 2018, he withdrew Dakota from Horace Mann, informing the district he would provide homeschooling. District staff documented the withdrawal and forwarded their existing concerns.
One freezing day in November 2018, Dakota jumped from the attic window. It was not just a fall. It was an attempt to escape the pain that had become his daily life. Neighbors saw him bleeding and trembling, terrified to go back inside. When the ambulance came, it should have been the turning point. That should have been the day someone realized a horror he was living in. But even that moment slipped away like all the others.
Control of his life were to maintain a facade. At the hospital, Amanda Hins, McLean's fiancée, presented herself as Dakota's mother. She answered questions, managed paperwork, and projected an image of a parent guiding her child through treatment. In reality, she was concealing the boy's true circumstances. Doctors who examined him recommended psychological counseling, recognizing that his actions pointed to deeper distress. Medical staff noted that this was not
At the hospital, Amanda Hinn stepped in and said she was his mother. She told staff that Dakota did not need counseling and took control of every question. Doctors treated the wounds but never reached the truth. The social worker closed the case after that. Dakota was sent back to the same home that had broken him. It is almost unbearable to think how many chances were missed. How many adults looked at that small, frightened boy and still did not see the truth.
Simple accident. Jumping from a window, they stressed, reflected an urgent need for support beyond basic medical care. Yet when counseling referrals were offered, McLean and Hins refused. They told staff they would handle his care themselves and declined follow-up. Children's Services was notified of the incident, but once again, the agency closed the matter. The official note cited insufficient evidence to remove Dakota from the home. Despite the obvious seriousness.
By December 2019, Dakota was no longer a child living in a home. He was a prisoner inside an attic. McLean installed surveillance cameras to watch his every move. He controlled when Dakota ate, when he slept, and even when he was allowed to stand. Food was taken away, showers were punishment, and silence was forced. Every small mistake meant more pain. When investigators later found a room, they said it felt like a place made for breaking a person's will. Dakota's small body was weak, his mind exhausted, and his hope was fading away.
Another day in a cycle of punishment and control that had stretched on for years. By mid-morning, Dakota's physical condition was deteriorating. The reasons became clear once investigators pieced together the months leading to that day. He was kept isolated in an attic room, denied adequate food at times, and deprived of normal sleep. The surveillance setup ensured that every move he made was scrutinized. Even small acts, like shifting out of place or asking for a...
The pain Dakota suffered was beyond what anyone could imagine for a child. Court papers and witness statements showed a pattern of cruelty that was shocking even to experienced investigators. He was forced to stay in painful stress positions for long hours, left standing or crouched until his small body trembled. Cold water was poured over him as punishment, again and again, in the dead of winter. Sometimes he was tied up or restrained in ways that made it hard to breathe. The coroner later confirmed that the cause of death included compressive asphyxia, meaning the pressure on his body stopped him from taking air. Hearing that detail alone is enough to send chills down anyone's spine. It is terrifying to think of the fear he must have felt in those final hours.
A healthy 10-year-old. On the day of his death, those punishments escalated. McLean demanded compliance with rigid rules, punishing what he perceived as even the smallest missteps. Detectives later documented that McLean had a pattern of forcing Dakota to stand for long periods in stress positions, sometimes holding objects as a form of endurance. If McLean believed Dakota had disobeyed, he would order harsher measures, submerging him in cold water.
At 3:42 in the afternoon, Al Mutahan McLean picked up the phone and called 911. The tone of his voice in that call still haunts everyone who has heard it. He spoke calmly, almost coldly, saying his son was unresponsive and blaming the boy's behavior for what happened. There was no panic, no sign of fear or sadness in his voice. He sounded detached, like a man describing something that did not concern him. For anyone listening to that call now, it is impossible not to feel anger, not only because of what he did, but because of how emotionless he was in that moment.
I ran it out. Blood squirt.
What's the location of your emergency?
My son is unresponsive right now.
Is he breathing?
Yeah, but barely. And it smells real rotten. No, something not old.
Like, Dad, help.
When paramedics arrived at the house, the sight that met them was heartbreaking. Dakota's small body showed visible signs of trauma, bruises, old scars, and marks that spoke of long-term suffering. Despite their efforts to revive him, there was nothing more they could do. The coroner later confirmed what everyone feared. This was not an accident. The cause of death was ruled a homicide. He had suffered blunt force trauma, compressive asphyxia, and even water submersion. Each of these would have been painful on its own, but combined, they took his life. Hearing those medical details feels heavy, almost unbearable, because they tell us how much he endured before his final breath.
Things long ignored had ended in tragedy. On December 14, 2019, detectives moved fast. Search warrants were executed at the Kensington Drive address. Al-Mutahan McLean was taken into custody, along with Amanda Hins and her sister, Jennifer Ebert. The scene was processed, photographs were taken, and household electronics, including the surveillance setup, were seized for analysis. Detectives secured medical records and began the timeline.
Soon after the investigation began, detectives moved fast. McLean was arrested along with Amanda Hins and Jennifer Ert. When police searched the home and the devices, they found messages and videos that showed how controlled and fearful the house had been. McLean's own words revealed how he ruled through threats and punishment. During interviews, both women admitted their part in the daily abuse. They claimed they were scared of McLean, but they still helped him. It is hard to understand how 3 adults could let such cruelty go on for so long without anyone trying to stop it.
Statements shifted the picture. In her interview, she acknowledged that daily treatment of Dakota followed McLean's orders. She described routines that required strict compliance and admitted that consequences were imposed when the child did not meet expectations. Her account placed McLean at the center of the decision-making, setting rules, directing punishments, and controlling access to the child. She also confirmed that a camera feed allowed the adults to observe.
The case finally reached court, and the details made even seasoned lawyers emotional. McLean pleaded guilty to charges including murder, rape, kidnapping, and child endangerment. The judge sentenced him to 51 years to life in prison, meaning he will never walk free again. Both Amanda Hins and Jennifer Ert also pleaded guilty to their roles and received long prison terms. As the sentence was read, the courtroom was silent. The judge called the acts pure evil, and it was clear that no punishment could ever balance what Dakota went through. Still, it gave some sense of justice, even if justice came too late for the boy it was meant to protect.
After Dakota's death, the case reached its conclusion in a Montgomery County courtroom. On September 8, 2021, the man at the center of it all, Al-Mutahan McLean, stood before Judge Dennis J. Adkins. After months of hearings, sealed evidence, and legal maneuvering, McLean entered guilty pleas to charges of murder, rape, kidnapping, and child endangerment. With those admissions, he avoided trial but sealed his fate. Judge Adkins sentenced him to 51 years to life.
After Dakota's death, people across Ohio mourned and demanded justice. Vigils were held as the community cried for change. From that grief came Dakota's Call, a movement pushing for stronger child protection. Lawmakers responded with Ohio's House Bill 4, improving communication between agencies and creating a youth and family ombudsman office to prevent future failures.
Several investigations are underway. The county is assessing how Children's Services handled Dakota's case. The state is also looking into how it was handled, and Dayton police are in the middle of a criminal investigation. In the meantime, a community action group is formed. Their first meeting is in 2 weeks.
We've all been touched by this tragedy, and again, if we can come together for this, we can come together to take action to prevent.
By May 2022, House Bill 4 was in effect across.
Dakota's story shows that silence can destroy lives. Every ignored warning helped end a child's future. Real change starts when schools, police, and families work together to protect every child. His pain must never happen again. Share your thoughts below, subscribe, and comment what story we should cover next.